very oddly and randomly, Breaking Bad fans have attacked this show A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which is a Game of Thrones spinoff that prior to this I had no idea even existed, but I should probably check it out since it's so highly rated, I suppose. But these ratings never really matter at all, they're a complete joke. But as you can see here, Breaking Bad fans have review bombed one of its episodes, which was rated 10 out of 10, and they throw down all these one-star reviews talking about Winter never reached Albuquerque, Gus Fring sends his regards, all kinds of goofiness. So it's just bad faith reviews from butthurt fans that were annoyed that the episode was equally rated to an episode here on IMDb of Breaking Bad called Ozymandias, the episode where Hank dies. Spoiler alert. Which was also rated 10 out of 10. And in retaliation to this Game of Thrones spin-off series being review bombed, the fans of it, the Game of Thrones universe fans, have review bombed it in return. The Lannisters send their regards. The North remembers. And they bombarded it with 1 out of 10 star reviews. And one thing to keep in mind is these reviews are a joke. Review sites are a joke. These ratings are a complete joke. And I'm going to demonstrate why, even before these review bombings, it's as if the show was review bombed. Importantly, this right here really demonstrates that. Look at this. So this is all the new Game of Thrones review bombs. So imagine this before that happening. It would all be flat and then a bunch of 10 out of 10 reviews. That is a joke. That is an absolute joke. Now, is this episode, Ozymandias, the very best episode of Season 5? Unquestionably. Absolutely it is. It is action-packed, and it concludes the only plot line worth a damn in the final season, which is that of Hank. Now, unfortunately, it ultimately doesn't even make sense and is kind of annoying, because when they defeat Gus, it's clearly when the series was meant to end, but they had a hit on their hands with this show, and they brought Bryan Cranston on as a producer, and they just, pushed to make more. So the final season just feels very forced, and there's sort of like character inconsistencies, as it doesn't make any sense, because when they defeat Gus, then the cartel is no longer after them, and by them I mean Walt, Jesse, and Mike, and then therefore all their associates, like such as Jesse's friends, and so on and so forth. So it never made any sense for for Walt, Jesse, and Mike to continue on. They have money. They got away with being a part of this empire, and no one's after them. All of the blame fell on Gus and the cartel, so these guys can move on with their lives. And it makes sense that they would move on to their lives, and particularly Jesse and Mike. Like, even though Walt pushes for them to continue, which isn't in his character at all. Like, prior to that forced final season, Walt's main motivation was just to provide his family with enough to pay, like, for Walt Jr.'s medical bills or any bills that, the family would have going forward after he passes away. So this, he was secretly just driven by ego. No, doesn't fit the show, and it especially doesn't make sense with how wise Mike in particular is. Now, Jesse is also very wise and becomes smarter, and by the time that this happens, by the time they defeat Gus, there's no way Jesse would return. There's no way. It doesn't make any sense. He doesn't have any reason to. He understands the danger. He understands they got away with murder, that they're in the clear. Why bring that risk back into your life? They wouldn't. Jesse wouldn't. And Mike in particular, we learn, if you've watched Better Call Saul, that this guy's even smarter than we thought he was in Breaking Bad. Even more street smart and even more capable of doing a huge variety of things and making the right decision when it's tough. And he kind of has a heart of gold at the end of the day. So if at the point where Walt is really forcing this, and it's so much more in line with Mike's character that he would honestly just mercy kill Walt to prevent Walt from not only risking bringing Mike down and Jesse down with him, but also just bringing himself down and, exposing him, but bringing the risk of exposing himself as being this drug lord and, meth cook. He would just, for Walt's own sake, take Walt out of the picture. So it just never even made any sense. So yeah, this episode's good. It's fast paced on Ozymandias, but it's still like within a crappy season, in those bad character inconsistencies, which create sort of plot holes, still kind of surround this episode and drag it down. So if this would be more of a bell curve, and it would be around the number 7. This should be rated about a 7.2, I would say. I would put it right at 7, but I could see how it would be like a 7.2, because that's just goofy. Everyone having it rated a 10 out of 10? Come on, that doesn't even make any sense at all. You can't be honest with yourself and think that ever made any sense. And it's interesting that they're using IMDb. I guess these other sites have just fallen out of favor. And these other sites falling out of favor in particular show how pointless, like, the overall public opinion is so goofy regardless. Like, everyone rating it 10 out of 10 is so goofy and stupid and wrong, and just shows that they haven't watched all that many shows. But previously, I kind of wonder what the go-to rating site is. It used to be Rotten Tomatoes. For a little while, it was Rotten Tomatoes, but they really fell out of favor about a decade ago, and they reviewed stuff, and you'd have these giant inconsistencies on Rotten Tomatoes between the viewer score and the critic score, such as this, where the critics rated it super high. The 2016 Ghostbusters, which I saw, it was garbage. It's not good at all. It's very reminiscent of Scooby-Doo 2, where the ghosts are just these like blue CGI, look horrible. Oh, there's just a bunch of ghosts they have to fight all at once. The jokes aren't funny. Nothing's good. Like, the funniest jokes, there's like 2 funny jokes in the whole film, and they are delivered by Chris Hemsworth. That is bizarre, considering they like cast women as the Ghostbusters, and funny women at that. Like, Kristen Wiig is funny. Melissa McCarthy sometimes is funny. So what were they thinking, the writers of this? Just a garbage film. One of the hardest films to watch is an unfunny comedy. This film, even it having a fan score of 49 is outrageous. But there are even worse examples. This one kind of opened people's eyes to being like, this site is a joke. Critics' ratings are a joke. This is crazy. But there's one that's even worse that I think really was the last straw, and that's Cuties. Oh my God, look at that disparity. Look at that disparity. And honestly, the people, any critic who rated this highly needs to be on a list. Like, no joke. Like, this movie, like Ghostbusters 2016 is bad, but it's a film. It is like, you can appreciate the effort that went into it in a way, right? There's some, nice costumes, I guess, and it's not good, but it's a film. This is not a film. This is a nightmare. This is something where literally everyone involved with its production should be investigated. Like, the French government needs to do a major investigation into this film. Like, it's not a film. It's not a film. It still disgusts me to my core, and like almost makes me want to vomit the fact that this even made it to Netflix for the like week that it was on Netflix. This is an abomination. Because I couldn't I don't know how anyone could rate this above a 0. I don't even know how, if you can rate something a 0, but this is, it goes beyond being a 0, right? It's literally negative. Literally, this film should be banned in every country in the world. Well, not only that, I think every copy, I don't know if there are physical copies, there shouldn't be, but any digital footprint, like this should genuinely be erased from existence. And you got critics out here rating it as though it's one of the best movies out there. Oh my god. Oh, like, when this movie came out and some people reviewed it, they talked as if there was some sort of message. Like there was some sort of artistic merit or like moral of the story. There's not. It pretends like there is. Like they wrote stuff in. There is like references to religion, but that's just to try to hide the fact that it is. I don't even want to say what it is. You're not even allowed to say what it is, right? Like, your video will get shadow banned if you even say what this is. It's, So yeah, these sites, they mean nothing. Right? This was goofy. This was always goofy. Goofy as hell. You know, good episode. Doesn't even make it worth watching. Does not make the final season of Breaking Bad worth watching. Just because they made one well-paced episode, just because one character, they give Hank a lot to do. Alright, Hank's still Hank. And that's nice. It's nice to see Hank. Everything else you see in that season is shit. It's horrible. Todd is the new Gus. Todd. Come on, Todd. Are you shitting me? Todd. Lydia? You're going to defend Lydia? You're going to tell me season 5 is good and that Lydia and Todd are as good as Hector and Gus. You know they're not. You know they're not 1/10 as good as Hector and Gus. You know, therefore, the show should have ended when Hector and Gus ended, and that it doesn't fit the characters that it even would continue.